Delighted to be moderating a panel here with three folks from one of the more interesting two-year institutions in the country. I'm just going to get right into this and give you names and titles. You see Dr. Shannon McCarty, Vice President of Learning and Instruction to my far right. Then to her left, Vivek Vyas, the Chief Product Officer. Finally, Don Orth, Vice President of Student Success. So to get right into this, give us a sense of how the college is using AI tools now, specifically interested in advancing learning, and maybe a little bit of the why. Why jumping on this bandwagon now? Let's start with Shannon.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you. Great to be here. And yes, I would say the why, obviously, I think you kind of heard in the themes from a lot of our partners, and it's really about the individualization and meeting students where we are. And we also know that we serve adult learners, and as Perry stated very eloquently, they are time challenged. And so we want to make sure that we are providing access to resources 24/7. And we know that instructors aren't able to do that. We also want to be able to provide them with the right resources at the right time. So that's really the why behind it. And we think that there's a lot of promise in some of these AI tools. I think another thing that you heard again and again is equity and the opportunity for students. We know that students are going to leave us and enter the workforce and need to have these skills. And so we want to make sure that we're introducing AI, but also teaching them how to leverage AI and with leveraging integrity, but also feeling very comfortable and confident in using AI. So we're very hopeful that we'll see a lot of student progress, student completion, that we'll see a lot of success related to integrating these tools into our student program, into our student journey, and into our programs.
Thanks for that. Vivek, you want to give us a bit from your perspective how the college is incorporating specific tools, your philosophy for assessing them?
Just to add to what Shannon said, I think of it from two viewpoints. One is for us to be able to put more efficiency or higher productivity for our frontline staff, our faculty, our wraparound support, our scaffolded support for our students. And then secondly, I think about the rate at which we're growing, and which is a great problem to have, and how we can position ourselves to be able to serve them at scale. So AI brings that promise of scale as well. So scale, efficiency, and productivity. So those are the three things that I think when I think of the benefits of AI in our context.
Good stuff. I mean, seeing a common theme there and kind of advancing the mission at scale, and using tools to help do that. Don, what would you like to add?
Great. Yeah. Don Orth, VP of Student Services and Success. And we're super aligned on what we're doing, which is good and helpful. What I can add is that we're really working on, from the support side, understanding our students, that we have such a diverse audience and such a diverse population that one size never fits all. And so it's really important for us, and this is what we work on as a team, to understand every single student, their goals, their needs, and their strengths, and then serving up supports that are just in time, that are very relevant, because one of the challenges we have with adult learners is getting their attention, right? Keeping them engaged. And the only way to do that, and even when we're offering something of value we know will be helpful, it needs to be just in time and very relevant to the needs at that very moment. So that's really what we're focused on, understanding the student well, leveraging AI to start gathering and building those student profiles, and also delivering solutions and relevant supports exactly at the time our students need them.
I like that you mentioned attention. I feel like that is something that isn't getting enough attention these days. So I want to ask a broad question here, how you all think higher education should be thinking about AI. That's a big one, but specifically to the population you serve. And I'll premise this with, I feel like generally as a journalist, the knee-jerk resistance in higher ed, cheating, missing the forest for the trees is largely dissipating. But, there was a piece in the New York Times by a Chapel Hill professor last week calling the technology mid and, basically saying it's going to disappoint, it's going to be a piffle. We can just ignore it. I'm wondering, where you are, Calbright, the startup mentality, if you have those issues, if you're seeing resistance, or just generally how you would encourage folks to think about it. Who wants to jump on that one first? And volunteers? I see Vivek moving.
I can go first. So there's always the naysayers that goes for any new technology. But I think we have the benefit of being, like you said, we don't have a lot of the baggage of the traditional systems. And so we see a lot of that enthusiasm around the organization. And so what we want to do is to be able to tap into that enthusiasm And so we need to use this opportunity to put some structures in place so that we can tap into that enthusiasm. So that's sort of where we are, and the skills that we have in-house to be able to enable that in service of our students. So I think we're in a slightly different place because of the fact that we're a young organization. But you're right. I've had so many conversations with other institutions, and they're grappling with some different challenges. But we have an opportunity here to use it in the fashion that we are moving ahead with it, to be able to set the path, perhaps, and share the knowledge largely with the larger organization.
Thanks for that. I mean, I feel like the structures in place piece seems really important. I don't envy anyone making decisions about AI right now because it changes every week. Just having a structure in place to deal with change. Shannon, it looked like you wanted to join in on that.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I mean, I think the conversation is slightly antiquated only because I remember, and I'm aging myself, but when like the Google search engine came out and everyone was like, oh, it's going to undermine all of higher ed and learning. So I think it's really about how you approach it and how you teach students to really embrace the technology, but still own the learning behind it. And so I think the opportunity to make them more self-directed is really important, right? Like it's a benefit to them when they get to their next job. And the opportunity for them to really thrive in that. I don't think there will be any job that doesn't exist without an AI kind of lens to it. And so I think the more that we can do and empower our students, the better that they will be prepared for that. And I think turning a blind eye is silly at this point. I think we've seen, what the internet has done. And so we're just trying to continue on that path. I think the end goal is always to make what's better for students in the long run.
Well, I'm really glad you brought up Google search, dating myself too. I mean, I was a recent grad when that hit, and people who knew how to incorporate it into their work had a real advantage, and I think we're in a similar situation here, particularly around student success. Obviously, a lot of opportunities with the tools. What sort of urgency are you feeling about making sure your students have access to them?
Yeah, I think there's kind of two things that are happening that I see. There's actually a lot of students who have basically come together and said, we need AI. We need to kind of learn how to do it. This will help us accelerate our progress. So there's a lot of student-initiated interest, as well as from the college side, building kind of opportunities to learn more. So that's number one. I think students see the value, understand that it's really important for them, for their career path. And then from the service side, I see it as an amplification of what we already do. The human side, the human kind of capacity and people and skills we have are so valuable for students. When our students, when we had 1,000 students, we could meet every single one. We could talk to them. We could counsel them. Now we need to amplify, and we need to save those human times for harder problems, deeper conversations. And so it allows everyone, every kind of counselor, every tutor, every kind of frontline support to kind of amplify their what they do. So I see it's super powerful, and there's worry, right? Is my job at risk? Is AI going to take over? But again, we need those people to kind of generate the ideas and the insights and the innovation that will drive AI and allow us to amplify some of those things.
In terms of systems, I'm wondering what level of training for the folks who are incorporating AI, where are you in that? That's a resource intensive piece. It's fast moving. Just to give us a flavor of that, please.
I can say really fast. I mean, like all places, there are folks who are cutting edge and really want to try new things. And those are the folks that usually come to me and say, I'm playing with AI. Can I do it? Am I allowed? I'm like, yes, do it. So we have kind of pockets of experimentation. And then I throw more at those folks and say, hey, try this out. Like, this is what we're thinking about. And so I have a lot of folks kind of innovating on their own in their space and then trying out with teams. So it's kind of from the ground up that we're seeing kind of learning, innovation, excitement, and it's exciting. Like, people get super excited about this work versus us saying, now you got to try this, now you got to do this. And there's enough interest and curiosity to drive change at kind of adoption of some of these tools.
I want to turn to Vivek here to talk about the data governance piece. Obviously, this is a huge concern, particularly, I think, challenging for institutions that don't have unlimited resources. But just give us a sense of where you are, your philosophy on that.
Yeah, so we're at Calbright, we realized that to turn the excitement around AI to some meaningful action, we need structure. And so we're starting to think about AI governance and governance frameworks. And so we can have rapid but responsible innovation data protection, and then also ensure that it is aligned with our institutional values and goals. So when you really bring it down to the brass tacks, the AI governance framework should really help us do three goals. One is it should help us create a streamlined and a repeatable process so that we can be intentional about what tools and platforms we're bringing into our learning ecosystem, right? So it should help us anchor our evaluation into a use case based approach, right? Not just platform features. And second, give us that process to raise the important questions upfront around model biases, right? Explainability of the results, and then data collection and use, things like that. And then also ensure compliance with our own ethical standards and regulatory standards. Two, it should help us bring the organization along. So we talked about the fears and so there's a lot of excitement, but there's also a lot of questions and apprehensions. We cannot ignore those. And so the framework should give us an opportunity to help people become stewards, AI stewards within the organization. And that happened by creating the space for answering those questions, and then also creating the space for some ethical reflections perhaps along the way. And thirdly, very important that we create some capacity in-house and a process for rapid innovation and experimentation, because if we are to engage with vendors in any meaningful way, we need that in-house capacity to be able to make those projects a success. And so those are the three sort of overarching goals of AI governance that we're looking at to build those frameworks. And I just want to add one more point here, that we feel strongly that AI readiness rather starts with data readiness. And so to that end, in the last year or so, the first thing we did as a foundational step was to bring all of our data into a single repository. We've succeeded at that. We're starting to see the benefits of that with some analytics that we're building through our business intelligence tools. We want to put them in the hands of our frontline staff, mid-level management, our executive team. But then also, we're starting to operationalize with some tactical steps these data governance standards, whether it's around data quality and integrity, data privacy, and ethical use, and regulatory compliance standards. And so the long-term goal or the long-term vision is that we want to have this really high-quality data, which we can then use for training and testing AI models, feature engineering, and therefore use this governance framework to enable and position us for the long term to innovate in learning, in support, and in career outcomes.
Good stuff. Thanks, Vivek. So Shannon, last question here. Just listening on the panel, I know you all are an unusual institution in that you see part of your mission of sharing what you've learned with the field. So if you could kind of look forward, give us a sense of the sort of tools you see that you might be incorporating the next few years. And also just a few years is a ridiculous timeline in AI. So let's say the next year, what should people be watching? What do you hope to be able to share with the field going forward?
Wow, that's a big question.
It is.
I would say that we would hope to be able to share with the field anything that creates better opportunities for students, really creates more efficacy in learning, helps students become more motivated and self-directed learners, as well as an opportunity, I think, to create efficiencies in the work that we do. And I really think if you're putting the data in the hands of the right people, right, they can really help students move farther much more quicker than if they don't have the data. So I think it's the opportunity to really, at the end, support students in getting what they need. And I just think this really provides us a lot of insights into that. So, I mean, I see a really educationally empowered and backed AI opportunity that I really think will engage a lot of learners and meet them where they are and hopefully move them farther along.
Well said. Thank you. Time for questions. We don't have a lot. Anyone want to jump up with one? Don't be shy, please.
So I've noticed a lot of the conversation has combined the teacher and student perspectives into one, right? We're just saying they, which I guess means both the teachers and the students. But I guess on the OA tutor end, we've noticed that teachers are often more hesitant than students to incorporate AI. And we've kind of attempted to make it very clear that we're positioning teachers as domain experts to maybe do like the prompt engineering and all. And so I just wanted to hear about like what you guys have in your experience seen as the difference between student adoption versus teacher adoption of AI, and like what different approaches are to those.
No, that's a great question. And I think in some instances, we're somewhat very lucky at Calbright. I would say that this is not probably the common practice across all of higher ed. But a lot of our instructors are very AI enthusiast, and so they are even trying to dabble and create these opportunities. And I think that they see this as a tool for our students. One of the things that we try to be cautious of is how do we help students use it in an ethical manner, right? So it's trying to teach them like this is a great source, but you also have to check your source just like you would check any other source. And then you also need to make sure that you are leveraging your own knowledge as you leverage that source. So a lot of our instructors have been very enthusiastic. I think in our partnership, we've had an opportunity to kind of talk through it. I think they're excited about the iteration and the experimentation. And so what both of you had mentioned too is still allowing for the instructor control and input. And I think that alleviates a lot of the fear. I think once we take that away, that would create more fear. But I think they're part of the process and part of the solution, then that's actually much more empowering.
Don, any last thoughts to add?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I'm thinking about a lot that I think makes us be able to move more quickly is that the three of us and some of the other kind of executives who lead teams, particularly student-facing ones, we work really closely together. We don't do anything independently. We're bringing product in early, kind of first days, so that we already know, like, what are the questions we should be asking. We don't want to go too far down the road of a tool and then find out it doesn't work with our ecosystem, it doesn't follow kind of the structures we put in place. So just that collaboration is so important. It keeps us on track. It keeps us focused. It keeps us focused on kind of solutions versus bells and whistles. So just critical, and really appreciate kind of being in an environment like that.
Well, I have to say, you all covered a lot of ground incredibly succinctly and clearly. Thank you. Please give them a round of applause. Afraid we're out of time, but thanks for coming.
We'll see you and quite a song check.